Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, right after lunch, so hopefully you guys aren't ready for naps. We'll try to keep it as entertaining as we can. I'm so excited to be up here with all of these incredible women, and we're going to have a great conversation. So just to introduce myself really quickly, my name is Sara Castillo. I am the co-founder and president of TapOnIt. If you guys don't know what TapOnIt is, we are a text message marketing and communications platform. We power the SMS and MMS campaigns for brands of all shapes and sizes, so they can further engage with their audiences. Do we want to just do like a quick little intro of, who you are, your brand?
My name is Tedesco. I'm the Chief Strategy and Marketing Officer for the Honey Pot Company. We're the first feminine wellness brand powered by herbs, so naturally derived ingredients in all of our products, with a mission to really destigmatize and normalize feminine wellness. Every human deserves the ability to kind of use great, clean products to help keep their overall wellness in check, and so the Honey Pot delivers that with incredible plant-derived ingredients, everything from daily care use, like washes and wipes, into period care.
Hi, I'm Bette Fialkov, and I'm the head of entertainment and culture at Hims and Hers. And for those of you that may not be familiar with the brand, we are a digital wellness platform that provides access to various treatments and products with a mission to destigmatize these taboo conditions such as anxiety, depression, hair loss. And I lead a team that is responsible for influencer marketing, celebrity partnerships, and strategic brand partnerships.
Hi, I'm Erin Bronner, Director of Communications and Brand Experience for Bentley Motors. As she said earlier, we are a 103-year-old brand focused on craftsmanship. Our cars, hopefully you'll see in and around the roads, and really just focused on building the authenticity and experience that you have while driving and the joy of driving our cars. Everything's based in England, and really just hopefully a chance here to tell you a little bit more about what we have coming up. 103-year brand has had a lot of different visions over the years.
Hi, good afternoon. Michelle Beauchamp. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for 11 Vodka. 11 Vodka is a female-founded, made in Miami, 100% organic vodka, distilled from Florida-sourced corn, double gold winner at San Francisco. I'm sure you've seen our brand in and around all the Basel events. This is our town. We love it. I hope you try us. We are rapidly expanding outside of Florida, and I look forward to chatting with you about how we connect culturally with our consumer.
Yes, and I tried 11 Vodka for the first time last night, and it is so good, so I would definitely recommend it. Okay, so as you guys know, the title of this panel is Lifestyle Brands Leaning into Brand Authenticity. So looking at it from a consumer lens, why does it really truly matter that a brand is authentic, and what does that even mean for a consumer? Do you want to start, Laura?
Sure. It's a great question, and I think actually it's the question that should start be the start of everyone's journey as they think about authenticity. Authenticity really does start with what matters to your consumer and to your community. That's going to be different based on every consumer group, every segment group, but I think that's been a theme that we've heard throughout the morning, that really understanding who your humans are, who you're speaking to as a brand is really important, and taking that kind of deeper level look at what matters to those people is ultimately what can help a brand determine what makes sense from an authenticity perspective. For the Honey Pot, it's really about destigmatizing and normalizing feminine wellness, and so for us, the way that we think about authenticity is making sure that we are delivering great education and destigmatization and normalization of very normal situations that a human with a vagina might face. And so for us, we do that through a really direct brand voice, where we use the words, we say vagina. It's wild to think about, like it was only the 1980s was the first time people started to use the word period on television. Prior to that, it was just referred to as that time of the month. So obviously for our kind of community, it's been years and years and years of not being able to directly address situations that are facing them on a daily basis. And so for us, it's really important that we start to normalize those discussions and help take some of the shame out of feminine wellness. And that is really something that matters to our consumers. And so they told us that, our community told us that, and that's how we've built our authentic voice. And I think as every brand thinks about that element, it's really important to consider a long-term commitment to authenticity. It's not just a campaign for this season. It's figuring out what matters to your community, to your consumer, to your human, figuring out how to bring that to life for your brand, and then kind of delivering on that day in, day out.
What about anyone else? For your brand specifically, what does it even really mean for a brand to be authentic to a consumer? Anyone else have anything to add?
I think that the most important thing that brands can do is to really be self-aware, know what your DNA is, be true to that, because you can't buy cultural relevance. You can throw money at something, but unless your brand has an authentic reason for being in a situation, in a place and space with a consumer to connect authentically, it's not going to work for you. So just be true to your brand DNA and align with those platforms that make sense and that are going to be accepted by the consumer because they're authentic and they're natural in that situation.
Yeah, like whether it is working with a celebrity or an influencer or a brand partnership, you really have to find those like-minded partners that not only align with your mission, but really help to elevate the brand. And I think really evaluating and setting, multiple ways of looking at these partnerships and evaluating them on a scale is really helpful and something we do frequently.
I think it's interesting too, as you touched on about the ingredients that go into your products. The community that you work with see through that. They see through the nice to haves, and I think especially for Bentley, we pride ourselves on the wood veneer. It's actually wood. The craftsmanship, the leather is sourced, all ethically. There's different components that really can create that community, and I think at that point you have advocates and share of mind within people that become just your arms and ears, too.
Yeah. Okay, so a question specifically for Michelle. In our prep call, you had talked about some very specific topics and causes that 11 supports that really shows your authentic self. So can you tell us a little bit about those things that you guys have been doing?
Of course. As a female-founded brand, our CEO, Nikki Simpkins, is very passionate about giving back to the community and supporting organizations that give back to women. So we have initiatives throughout the year that give back to specific women's initiatives. For example, every October, we have our full Pinktober campaign with an 11 Vodka pink bottle. 11% of the proceeds go to the Florida Breast Cancer Foundation. We do something similar during the summer with a sort of patriotic bottle with 11% of the proceeds going to GI Josie, which is an organization that supports female veterans. So we are sharply focused on that mission of supporting women in the community and really seeing that through in everything that we do.
Okay, great. So a question really for everybody. What kind of marketing do you find that you have done that really makes it easy to be your authentic self for your brand?
I think one of the things that we've done most recently is tell customer stories and who they are in their ownership, whether that's a female movie entrepreneur who's directed films in Los Angeles, who was a Continental, which is our two-door speed, model, or a real estate developer in Colorado. Understanding that there's people behind the brand telling the authentic, extraordinary journey of how they came to be, it takes the marketing out of nice to have and a really beautiful story to bring a community, and I keep saying community, but bring everyone together, because that only can drive more brand value. Overall, we found that people see through marketing for marketing's sake. And I think when you really focus in on some of the passion points of the brand as it evolves, you can tap into those realities.
I think for us right now, I'm sure a lot of you are coming from New York. We have a big HERS mental health out-of-home campaign that's live, and we add a little humor into it. And really, I think similar to what you were saying about normalizing, we're really tapping into the idea that, it's okay if you struggle with mental health, and we have a solution, and we make it playful and fun so that when you read it, you're like, oh, that makes sense. I'm going to go check it out, instead of it being really addy and in your face.
Yeah, I think, agree completely. I think humor goes a long way, and it has to be the right level and tasteful humor. It can't be making light of a situation, but I do think that helps to really break down barriers and make sort of the consumer feel more involved. I think for us, a big focus is community building and making sure that we're kind of nurturing that relationship with our incredible humans that sort of support the business. And we do a lot through social. And our goal is always to kind of start the conversation, but let the conversation continue amongst our community, because truly they are at the center of everything we're doing, and we as a brand kind of live to serve them. And so what's interesting is you find that as you kind of open that door, the sharing that happens across our community members is really powerful. And whether it's commenting on social or it's people literally kind of gifting the products to friends, which you wouldn't suspect that people would do with period and feminine wash products, but they do. And it's because when you kind of cultivate that love and you kind of unlock the door for them to also cultivate love of these products that historically have felt very shameful, it does really open up the opportunity for that sort of community-led authenticity.
Okay, great. So Erin, we had chatted a lot about sustainability at Bentley and how that is one of the things that makes you then the brand authentic. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. As part of our 100-year campaign in 2019, we launched what we call Beyond 100, which touches on a variety of different areas of the business. I mentioned the veneers in our cars earlier. I was lucky enough to go to the forests in Mississippi to actually see where we harvest and ethically source our woods, from the red gum trees to really create this beautiful veneer that we call liquid amber that graces the fascia, kind of the face of the cars. That's just one example. Our leathers, our road to electrification. A lot of people are talking about EVs and how that market is growing in the Americas and obviously over the world and different regulations. We've just launched our first, two now, hybrids. And so we're making progress into that world. It's an evolution. It's a brand change and shift from combustion engines, which I know we're all in very different spheres, but there has to be a movement within the times. And so that commitment to seeing that through to 2030 is going to be the way that we sustain and both gather the existing customers on that road and collect new people who are interested in what that has to offer.
Right. So how are you getting that information across to existing and potential customers about what you guys are doing and how you're doing it?
Yeah, I think it's a multi-layered campaign, as we all have done. There's different partnerships that we've identified. One being actually the Macallan, which you wouldn't consider necessarily an obvious choice, but the way that brand and ours are on the journey together is one. Customer acquisitions. I think our dealerships are doing an amazing job in looking at who we have and the generations to come. It's interesting, even in the factory in the UK, we have multi-generational employees and colleagues who are honing their craft. We have the same for our customers. So it's really, it's interesting to watch over the last few years and then what's to come.
Yeah, and that's interesting, like working with dealerships, that are selling your brand. It's like every person that has anything to do with your brand has to be on board, right? In order for it to be 100% authentic. So is that like an internal marketing that you guys do to make sure everybody's like on the same page, or?
Yeah, I think there's a combination. I mean, we have great, field managers and marketing managers that are in the retail stores each and every day, working alongside and really truly as partners, developing the messages, seeing those through, whether that's events, e-coms, depending on what it is, but also just expanding the brand into something we actually launched just 2 weeks ago of working with the shoe surgeon, or now he's called the surgeon, in launching a pair of sneakers that actually identifies what our brand is and how it comes to life. It's a new audience that he actually captures, and so different types of marketing, different types of platforms. We can talk about the new age of TikTok and how our platform has grown tremendously, but I think, again, coming back to your first question, it's remaining true to the voice that is Bentley, and understanding where we go and being okay to say no in certain components where it's just not necessarily accepted, or learning to put that toe in the water.
Okay. So Betty Ann, working, in influencer marketing, there is sometimes when, influencers are repping a brand or supporting a brand that it doesn't truly feel authentic, and it can be very easy to see through as a consumer, right? Like consumers, if it's not true, you can see right through it. So what are you doing at Hims and Hers on the influencer marketing side to get with partners that are truly believe in your brand, and how do you, make those partnerships last?
Yeah, so it's essential for us to select influencers and celebrities who actually have a connection to the condition that we want them to talk about. And so what I said before about like having that checklist, like one of the first things that I do is when I talk to, whether it's the actual influencer or the celebrity, their managers, agents, I ask, do they have, anxiety? Do they have, have they had to deal with hair loss or ED, or, do you know any, or would they be comfortable about talking about that and talking about prescription? Because what we don't want is somebody getting up and representing our brand that has no connection to these conditions.
Right.
And it is hard a lot of times getting that out of the partners, finding out if, they'd be willing to talk about it. But we actually have a big launch in January with a new Hers mental health celebrity who has been very open about her anxiety, depression, and taking prescription to address it, to really normalize it. And so that's why we chose her, because she's been open about it. And I think just finding for in our, what we are talking about, they're very serious topics, and so we want the most real stories to represent the brand.
Yeah, so what's like an example from the past year of one of your partnerships that you're just really proud of, that you feel like made a difference for the consumer?
Yeah, so first we've worked with J-Lo in the past. She was our Hers hair loss partner, and she truly did have hair loss, and she used the prescription product that we offer, and so she was able to talk about that and give her testimonial, and that was some of the most valuable pieces of content that we created, that testimonial. But then on a smaller scale, we started a Hers mental health ambassador program where we have influencers all over the country. One that really I love her content. She's a New York City ballet dancer, and she experienced burnout and performance anxiety, and so she talks about this to her audience and in a very real way, and points people back to Hers as a solution if you're facing this. But it's all real. It's a true story.
I love the J-Lo example because, on the outside looking in, you would think like, oh, she's perfect, there's no wrong, right? But then you find out like, oh, nope, like everybody has their thing. So that's amazing that she's able to come forward and really bring that to light. Okay, Laura. So the products that Honey Pot sells are a need, right? What are you doing as a brand to differentiate yourself and take something that might not normally be thought of as luxury and make it so?
Yeah, it's a great question. The brand was founded by our incredible CEO, B. Dixon, and she founded it on the premise that there should be more transparency in every step of the process, whether it's in the ingredients that are included in the products, the way we talk about the products, what we call them, the way we talk about the situations that humans with vaginas find themselves in. And so I think that really kind of strong focus on transparency and authenticity has been built into our DNA from day one. And what that has allowed us to do is to really elevate beyond just being that functional product that you need, and rather be a product that serves an incredible function and works incredibly and uses naturally derived, plant-derived ingredients, so you can feel really good about the product that you're using. But at the same time, it's becoming more about, partnering or feeling like you're part of a brand that really cares about you and offering you something that is better for you and something that is elevated beyond just that sort of very functional product that you need to use in your daily routine. And so I think that's been really powerful, and I think it's helped our community to feel really connected to our brand, and certainly makes us feel very connected to them, because it's taking this very sort of functional element and creating much more excitement and engagement. And I think what we found is that by kind of having that really transparent, authentic relationship and approach, that our consumers and our humans are kind of willing to follow us into new categories. And that's really been an incredible benefit for our brand, is that as we launch and expand the assortment that we have available, it creates that kind of instant level of trust that, because we will continue to stick with that sort of brand DNA that we discussed, that was mentioned earlier as well, that no matter what we're introducing, we're going to deliver above just that functional product. And that trust is worth everything. So.
Right, so the highest quality ingredients, the packaging alone is just so nicely done.
Yeah, the packaging is meant to be very bright, because again, this is a category where oftentimes we're just sort of taught to be ashamed. And so the idea is, let's not hide from very normal things. Let's not hide from our periods. Let's not hide from different conditions. And so the packaging is a way to really be bold about what what we stand for as a brand.
I love a good product packaging. It gets me every time. Okay, so tell everybody about something that you guys are excited about going into 2023, something on your marketing plan that you're really looking forward to.
So 11 Vodka is at a very exciting juncture. We're expanding outside of Florida, nationally, going to other states. But one of the ways that brands like 11 Vodka connect with consumers is through their passion points. Finding authentic ways to be part of a drinking occasion that the consumer's passionate about. So we have been leaning into pickleball. If you haven't been reading the news, you can't miss it. Pickleball is hot. Everyone's jumping in. We've been involved from the beginning, and it's Florida is the pickleball capital of the world. So we did a big pickleball pro-am tournament to benefit the Florida Breast Cancer Foundation, and we're going to be leaning big into pickleball going into 2023, because it's young, it's hip, it's hot, it's relevant, and it's a disruptive sport. So we view it very much similar to the DNA of our brand. So we're really excited to see what happens with that sport and the alignment that we have with it as a brand.
I think for the new year, there's a couple products, obviously, we can't talk about just yet. But what we're leaning into next year more than anything are extraordinary drives and extraordinary journeys, and allowing customers to experience our products in different ways that they most normally wouldn't. Giving them opportunities for multi-day, multi-night excursions in a variety of, our Bentayga, our SUV, our Flying Spur, which is kind of the pinnacle of our four-door range, and then the Continental, which everyone knows to be the cool, coupe and convertible. and taking our customers to create that broader community. We have something called the Bentley Network app, which you need a VIN, a car access point to enter, and creating and growing that amongst those, lucky enough to be invited and to curate those experiences, I think is something we're really looking forward to.
I would say I already mentioned that we have a celebrity launching in January, but we do have some new products coming out, and we're expanding into other areas, and we have some new prescription products that will be coming out, which I'm really excited about. And we are expanding our ambassador program, so we just brought on a bunch of Hims hair loss ambassadors, and they'll start to create content in the next month or so.
And for the Honey Pot, we are thrilled. In February, we'll be continuing our third year of our campaign around reclaiming wellness. So a big part of what we try to do as a brand is really make sure that we're acknowledging kind of unseen humans and unseen conditions. And I think there is obviously a very big element in terms of sort of Black humans' health not necessarily being prioritized. And if you look at kind of the origins of a lot of kind of modern medicine, it's really been built on the backs of Black humans. And so in February, we say that it shouldn't just be February that we're celebrating Black humans, but in February we do have an opportunity to really showcase and shine this idea around reclaiming wellness and acknowledging the incredible contributions of Black innovators in the feminine wellness space and the wellness space overall. And as we've kind of built year over year, our programming has gotten more robust, and so we have a really great program happening at HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities throughout the country. We have incredible social partnerships that will be going live, all with sort of the content built around acknowledging and heroing those humans that have really made such a big impact in the overall healthcare space, and then also providing education for our humans, because this is not an area that people are often educated on. And so really excited to be entering year 3 of our Reclaiming Wellness campaign, and I hope you guys all tune in and see it.
So, Betty Ann, I actually just thought of something like while you were talking about, celebrity partnerships. I've seen campaigns and commercials specifically that feature normal, everyday, non-celebrity people dealing with, problems that you guys can help out with. How do those come about? How do you find these people? How do you get them to be open and honest?
Yeah, so the HERS campaign that's live right now, which is probably what you're referring to, all of the women in that campaign have actually had anxiety and depression, and some of them have actually come from our community. So we have a robust community team that is, reaching out to and basically curating this community of Hims and HERS users for whatever the condition is. And so, we talk to that community all the time and pull them from there. Similar to, it sounds like what you're doing as well.
Yeah, and it's obviously great to see, the celebrity partnerships and see them speaking up and bringing some taboo subjects to light, but it's those everyday people like us, seeing them talking, makes it very authentic, right? And when it is something like a taboo subject or mental health or whatever it may be, again, if it's not real, you can see right through it. And I believe that, the campaigns you guys have put out, it's evident that, there was time spent going into this to be open and honest and make a true campaign that, puts everyone on the same page, whether you're J-Lo or not. Okay, so it's been mentioned a couple times already that brand authenticity is not just a nice to have, it's a necessity, right? So do you guys have any suggestions, tips, advice for, maybe there's a brand out there in the audience or someone who's going to be starting their own brand or their own business that needs to, build their authenticity from scratch? Are there any tips that you have on how to really dig into that, find what you want to support, find who you want to be?
I think the first step is knowing what your brand is, what you stand for, what you believe in, what your values are. Be true to that DNA and stick by your guns. It's very, very easy to be tempted to stray away from that when there's a shiny object and something hot and new out there. Stay true to your core brand DNA. Align with things that make sense based on that. If it doesn't feel right, if you cannot see your brand authentically in a situation with a consumer in a space and place, it's probably not right. Like, go with that. Like, you'll know when it's something that makes sense, it's a good fit, and it's true to your DNA and something that's forced. You never want it to be forced, so stick to your guns, be true to who you are.
I think just on that, what I was going to say is it's similar. It's be okay to say no and be empowered to say no. I think a lot of times and I'm sure all of us get these great opportunities that feel really great in the moment. You know, the email came in at the perfect time of a date that works, but it's just not exactly the right fit for you and your brand of what you see. I think empowering yourself to say no and also then understanding what you would say yes for is probably the biggest opportunity.
I think doing insight studies is something that we really lean on, and if you have the resources to be able to really find out like what your consumer is consuming, who they're following, what are their media habits, what they like to do on the weekends, like things like that, have really helped us. For an example of this is we thought that fitness influencers and athletes would be good partners and, you know, really resonate with our audience, but in reality, they didn't. And so we now are, you know, thinking about other ways of, working.
Yeah, I think similar. I think it's understanding what motivates your consumer base and what they care about, who are the sort of voices that they trust, where are they looking for information, and then how do you overlap that with what your brand stands for and finding that space that it's sort of mutually hitting each of those spaces, both the kind of consumer and community need and then what your brand can deliver. Because in the absence of either, you're not going to be able to deliver on an authentic experience.
Okay, awesome. Do we have a couple minutes for questions? Are there any questions from the audience?
I think it's fair to say that you've got a multitude of industries here, and everyone in this room is definitely a consumer of all of your brands. I know for a fact many of you have participated in the 11 Vodka and will continue to do so. Pretty much all of us would love to drive a Bentley. We're all marketers, so we all suffer from anxiety and hair loss. And many of us have vaginas, and if you don't have one, you might be a dad of one, and if you're not a dad of one, you came from one. So, and judging by the way this audience has been, everyone has a texting problem, so everyone is constantly texting. You have a whole new customer group right here. Everybody do the shopping. Who is our first question in the audience?
Hi, my question is for those of you who are working with founder-led brands. As you think about executing your strategy, is there anything that you think in terms of nuances or challenges that you face that your competitors don't?
Could you repeat?
Can you say the end again?
Founder-run brand.
As you think about executing your strategy, are there any nuances in being in a founder-led brand versus your competitors as you think about brand authenticity?
Yeah, I can speak to that. So our founder is incredible. She is running the business on a day-to-day basis. She's also our CEO and our Chief Innovation Officer. And she is a visionary in a way unlike anyone I've ever met in my entire life. So I think as I think about working with her and kind of executing her vision, it's really about honoring, you know, what she is envisions for the Honey Pot and what our future looks like. And that ranges from the products to the way that we educate, to the way that we partner with retailers, to the way we outreach to our community. quality, honoring that, and then figuring out the best way to bring that to life. I think, the authenticity piece is obviously the theme of this panel, but I think, for us, it really is important that we're showing up in a way that connects with our community. And so, that given the nature of social media, you constantly have an opportunity to course correct if you kind of fall off of that. And I think for us, we listen really carefully to our community, and we kind of channel that communication and energy with B's vision, and that's how we kind of go about our day-to-day. But I think ultimately, I'm here because B had an incredible vision, and so I want to honor that and bring that to life in the best possible way.
Hello, I actually have a question for Michelle at 11. How do you think about marketing and branding for your product when the name of your product is likely competition to every club that would hold your vodka?
So we license the intellectual property of 11 for the vodka. And it's an interesting question, and I think that 11 has gone beyond the nightclub. It's a lifestyle brand with merchandise, hotels, residences, DAS sound audio system. So it's really evolved into something that's bigger than the club, and really is a representation of what it is to have a Miami lifestyle. Miami is probably one of the most culturally relevant cities in the world right now. It's young, it's vibrant, it's growing. So we're really tapping into that. The brand taps into that, and it's got more of a universal appeal than what you'd think. We haven't encountered the pushback that you might imagine from competitors. We're sold by a lot of our competitors because consumers love the brand, especially down here, where the brand really has that level of awareness, because this is where the brand was born and bred. So, it's an interesting question. We haven't really experienced the pushback, but I think the brand is embraced because of what it represents beyond just the club.
I can attest to that. We serve it at our PTA meetings.
Thank you.
Any more questions? All right. Thank you, ladies. Much appreciated.